Hello and welcome to day 120 in this quest for a 2000 rapid chess rating on chess.com. Alright, let's find an opponent and begin here. Will we have black or white? Alright, looks like the white pieces, and we're playing Magnus. Thankfully not Magnus Carlsen. Alright, so we're going to start with d4, try and set up this Jabava London. And let's see how they respond. All right, Magnus plays knight to f6. So we'll play knight to c3. Now normally they should play d5 here. They do not. Now, this lets us play e4 here. All right, let's see how they respond to this. So d6, they're going to try and set up a type of a King's Indian defense, it looks like. All right. Well, now, I don't know if I've come across this yet, playing the Jabava London. So, bear with me. I don't know how this game will turn out. I'm a little less sure of the best moves here. I think this was the best to grab the center like this, but now, how do we want to continue? Maybe h4 here. Just start pushing forward. And perhaps we can get a little attack going here. All right. All right, now, trying to remember if I should be continuing forward here or not. Maybe we bring our bishop up. We'll do that. We'll bring our bishop up. And I'm wondering if I should have played f3 and then g5. See, I just don't quite remember what the best moves are here. But at least this bishop on e2 helps cover the g4 square. And now we could possibly, bring this bishop up here to e3. Okay. So, well, we go ahead and bring this bishop up. We develop our bishop here. What if he attacks there? So if we go bishop to e3 and he develops his pawn here, if we capture, he captures. Should we bring this knight forward? Or do we push, just keep pushing here? If we go there, maybe we should try that. I don't know. So I'm torn between developing this bishop and pushing this pawn immediately. If we push the pawn immediately, let's say he captures, we capture, he captures, our queen comes up there. Hmm. All right, we'll just do it. It'll make the game exciting. So we'll go ahead and do that. I don't know, maybe this was too premature. Perhaps I should have brought this bishop up here instead. You know, usually you don't want to move a piece the same or twice in the opening. And I probably should have waited till he actually castled over here before I played this. All right. Well, at least it'll be a little more exciting. So what should they do? You know, at least we have them thinking. If somebody attacks on the edge of the board, you know, on the flank, usually it's good to counterattack in the center. But if he goes here, captures, we capture, and then, you know, I give up my bishop pair. We could capture with the rook instead to keep an eye on this central pawn. All right, well, I like that they are really thinking about this, so let them burn some time. So what are the options? They could capture with the pawn, you know, then we capture, knight captures, rook captures, I guess, but then they would be able to jump their other knight in and put pressure on this. Well, yeah, I don't know if this was the best move to go ahead and push that pawn. I guess we'll find out in the game review and analysis following this game. So anyway, you know, if you're new to this channel, please like and subscribe if you haven't already to support the channel. Feel free to leave comments with anything that you would like to say about this game or anything else. So what should I do? If he ignores this, which he probably won't, because we could even push forward and chase his bishop back and prevent him from castling, you know, unless he castles. Okay, he does ignore that. Interesting. All right. Well, we should definitely go ahead and capture there. So we'll do that. Well, that's interesting. Now we can capture and prevent him from castling over there. Now we could pin his knight, which might be a good move, and it helps us develop. So pin the knight. That'll be an okay move. All right. The knight is pinned. Man, we definitely need to castle queenside. So we need to get on that. Now, should I have busted open? Well, at least we have this pin. We can try and jump our knight up here. And, all right, so he decides to do that. Did that do anything? Well, now, should we develop our knight? What are the options here? Do we pin the other knight? But then he could just capture. No, he can't capture. So, all right, all right. Think about this. Where should I put this queen? Now, do I want to develop the bishop? Now, I already moved this piece, so I probably need to just keep developing another piece. Now, do I take here? Then he'll just take with his knight and develop that. But then I could attack. If I go here, I could attack. Or do I need to concentrate on castling by developing my queen? But if I develop the queen, he could just capture there. So I'm thinking probably should just capture, kind of open things up, because I am a little closer to castling than he is. All right, we'll go there and attack. Try and keep the initiative. Oh, and if his knight moves back, we can pin it, perhaps. Okay, if we pin the knight and his bishop goes here to block it, we take, he takes. Then if we attack, that may give us some advantage. All right, do we have anything better though? If we go there, what if he ignores that and just develops his queen, trying to target this? Okay, we need to castle, I think. But if we go here, e5, he captures, we capture, his knight will just capture there. Then we could pick this off. King recaptures. Then I don't see much for that. So we probably just need to develop our queen and get ready to castle. I think that would be best. Develop the queen, get ready to castle. All right, what else? What other options do we have? We have to keep the pressure on. We just jump our knight forward. He could take. No, he can't because he's pinned. So if we do that, we're threatening to capture, but he captured. That would just trade material. So I'm thinking we'll just go there. Get ready to castle. problem is he can just move his queen. He'll probably want to move his bishop first, though. And where would be best to move that bishop? The bishop jumps down here, threatening to attack. We could just ignore him and just castle. All right, so he decides to go there. All right, well, I guess we should castle now. Castle. Or do we need to open the center up? I'll say castle. That's probably the best thing to do. Okay, so he goes there. Now, if we go here, probably need to break things open since his king is stuck in the center. So if we go here, he captures, we capture. If he does that, we can pick this knight off and then maybe capture over here. Well, that's if his queen ends up there. Okay, well, let's break things open while his king is stuck in the center. All right. All right. What did we mess up there? Well, we can go here and then attack his queen like that, so that might work. And we attack his queen and his bishop. So this works out for us because, yep, they resigned. All right, well, we got the win there. And if you're not sure why, well, stick around for the game review and then we'll show you. But let's see, let's do a quick game review and then I'll do the analysis and we'll dig into this position. But it looks like it's plus 2.8 in White's favor. So let's look at this game review here. Oh man, so I played at 94.9. So, you know, it does happen. Shorter games, it's easier to score higher. You know, I put out a video on chess cheating and it is a big problem. But, you know, it is possible for people to play in the 90s, of course. You know, just the cheating individual that, you know, I did the video, or that was featured in the video, they had like 5 games in a row in the 90th percent, you know, in the 90% range, which that's possible, of course, but, you know, it's just not as likely when they just play game after game at 90 something percent, unless there's somebody younger that's improving. All right, so I had one great move. The bad moves, I had 2 inaccuracies, they had 2, but they had 3 mistakes. And you can't see it here, but it looks like I played at a 2250 level versus their 1700 level. And, that's another thing. To play at 2250, it happens sometimes for somebody at my level, but it's not going to be common. That's not going to happen like 5 games in a row. But, 1 or 2 games, I might be able to pull that off. And also, it was a shorter game. When you have less ways to go wrong because you only played, how many moves did we get to in this game? Anyway, I'll take a look. You see it was a shorter game. So, it's possible to get higher accuracy ratings and a higher rating average when, it's only like 20 moves or so in the game compared to like an 80 move game. If somebody's scoring, if a 1500 player is scoring in the 90th percentile and playing at a master level in a game that goes 80 moves long, well, then that's going to be more suspicious. All right, so my opening, I played 93.4 versus their 86.8. And then the middle game, I played at 96.5 versus their 72. So here we go with the review. And I think my image is covering the game rating information that I'm looking at now. It's at the bottom here. But it says I played at 2250 level versus their 1700. And the review. So I played D4 hoping to get a Jabava London. But instead, we kind of veer off into almost like a King's Indian defense or modern setup or something. Pirk. They're all a little bit similar. So this is kind of a King's Indian defense setup. And I'm reading the Simon Williams Jabava London system book. And, I'm still getting through the book and reading it now. So, I'm trying to learn the Jabava London for this opening repertoire in this Quest for 2000 series. So I'm still learning. I do remember that it was good to grab the center here if they don't fight for the center with D5, and to launch this pawn up the H file to try and create weaknesses, open your rook up. And apparently we took them out of their normal play, I think, because they were thinking for quite a while on some of their moves. So right now it says this is the Pirk defense. But, it's the same as a King's Indian defense type setup as well. All right. So that was a mistake. They should have captured with their knight here, which is kind of what I thought they would do, enticing me to give up my bishop pair. And then I probably would have had to, after they recapture, I could have gone after the pawn with the rook, I guess, because if I took with the queen, then they could capture my pawn on the center here. So what would have been best for them? Instead of e5, they should have just captured with the knight on h5. All right, so it was best to capture the pawn there. And then they make another mistake here with taking on e5. Better would have been to take on e5 with not the knight, but with the pawn. And then we probably would have exchanged queens, so maybe that's why they didn't want to do that. All right, so that was the best move, to play f4 and chase that knight away. And then they made a mistake here. Apparently they should have moved their queen over to c8, so it's not pinned by my bishop. So the knight is not pinned to the queen by this bishop. All right, so we open things up and then attack their queen and their bishop here. So once we do that, the reason they resigned right here is because, so this was only 16 moves. So they resigned because we're attacking the queen and the bishop. And, let's say the queen moves, then we just pick off the bishop with check. So the queen would recapture here on f6, but then that would allow us to pick off the bishop here, with a check on top of it. So their king would be stuck in the middle. Then we could even just pick off this other pawn here. And so they just chose to resign. So we'll look at this in the analysis. Let me go back here to the beginning and we'll dig into this and see how the game could have gone from here. And before we do that, we'll look at the opening moves. So let me pull up the analysis and we can see what the computer has to say, what secrets the mighty Stockfish will reveal to us. All right, d4, knight to f6. Now, for years, maybe, 10 or 15 years, I used to play nothing but knight to f6 and the King's Indian defense against d4. So maybe in the future on this Quest for 2000 series, I'll go back to that opening repertoire where I used to play e4 with the Ruy Lopez, and then I would play the King's Indian defense against d4 with black. Against e4 with black, I used to play the Sicilian defense all the time. So maybe at some point, if you all would like to see those openings, I could go back to that in the future. But right now, I just switched to this opening repertoire that I'm using currently when I hit around the 100-day mark in this Quest for 2000 series. So I'd like to ideally stick with this repertoire at least till I get to day 200. But let me know in comments, if you would like to see other openings. Are you getting bored of watching too many of the same openings in this? Like if I just do the Jabava London setup all the time and then the Caro-Kann with black, just let me. And I'm trying to do maybe the Slav or semi-Slav if they play d4 against me. All right, well, they played knight to f6, so I played knight to c3 hoping they would play d5 and then I could play bishop to f4 and have the Jabava London set up, but instead they play g6 here, getting ready to fianchetto castle over here. Now, I remember seeing in Simon Williams' Jabava London System book where he mentioned that if they do this and they ignore the center, it's usually a good idea to play e4 here. And the computer gives that as the best move, putting white ahead here by what? 0.44. So white takes the center, and now it looks like d6 is the preferred move, a book move. And now we have the Pirc defense, the main line. So here, the computer wants me to play f4. And it says that is best. And that is what I used to play against the Pirc defense all the time. So I'm going to have to dig in the book again, the Jabava London System by Simon Williams, and see if I was correct. But I think in there he recommended an immediate h4. Computer says that's still an excellent move. So Stockfish says, this is still a good attacking move. And I grabbed space on the king side. And maybe they were not expecting this immediate pawn push. Usually, the average player will probably just keep developing pieces, which is also a smart thing to do. So now, knight to c6, it looks like that might be the most recommended move. They just develop their bishop here, continuing, getting ready to castle maybe, but that could be a little more dangerous now with this h-pawn pushing forward. So I just developed the bishop here. This is also a book move. Now, what did the computer recommend? So, in fact, they do like bishop to e2 the best because it fortifies this pawn push to h5. Now, I guess black could try and slow things down by playing h5 themselves. But then maybe I could play bishop to g5 here, possibly. And, I would think white would have the edge. So bishop to e2. Now, then they play knight at b to d7. An inaccuracy. The computer says, as I mentioned, h5. So the computer likes h5 the best, saying that is the best move. And then after that move, apparently white should, develop knight to f3, or even a4, gaining space on the queen side. Or even, as I mentioned, bishop to g5. So, I don't know. I would maybe prefer bishop to g5 because then I can move my queen up to d2, possibly to back it up and get ready to castle queenside. And we have, kind of like a Yugoslav attack situation maybe in the dragon, the Sicilian dragon. If we move the bishop up, move the queen here. If they castle, we could try and trade off their dark squared bishop. But let's look at this knight to f3 move as well. After we play it, what does Stockfish say now as it digs deeper? No, it likes that move, saying it's best. That helps fortify this d pawn. So now, looks like castling would be best. And then, now they want us to castle as well. So that's pretty interesting. They want us to castle kingside. And the game wouldn't be as crazy if we castled kingside. Same side castling is usually a little safer. So if we castled kingside, we could take a look at that. Castle kingside. Then c5 is a common move in these types of positions where you attack the central pawn with the flank pawn. So, that might be best. Then recommended is d5 here, gaining space, preventing the knight from developing to c6. So the knight goes here instead. And then, although now it's saying we should attack the knight with a bishop development to g4. All right. Now what? a4 it's recommending. All right. Okay, I don't want to, dig too deep into that sideline. So let's go back to the game. Bishop to e2 was played, and they make this inaccuracy, thinking, well, they'll just develop their other knight and back this knight up. And it covers e5 and c5. So they might want to push their pawn to c5, or they might want to push their e pawn. And if we push our pawn to attack them and they capture, if we recapture, then they'll just pick that pawn off. So that's probably why they decided to play this knight move, to just cover these squares. And so here we played h5. And sure enough, the computer says that that is the best move, to just launch forward here, and use that pawn that you push to break open the h-file. It looks like the best response. Now, my opponent played e5, which was a mistake. The best thing for them to do would be capture with the knight, and then we should get rid of our bishop pair, breaking open their pawns on the king side. So they recapture. And now, the recommendation, I was thinking, well, capture with the rook, but that's the second best move. Best, apparently, is just development. So, that would give them time to protect with that move, protect the h-pawn. And now they're saying c6 6 would be better. But if they protect that, then what do we do? Queen to d3 is what they like. Or queen to d2. And I'd be more inclined to play queen to d2 to create that battery, try and trade off their bishop here on g7. And now, what do they recommend? c6, keeping my knight away from their side of the board. This knight on f3, although now it's guarding the e4 pawn. What now? So they recommend f3, keeping the knight out. Maybe pushing the g pawn in the future. So bishop to e6, knight at g to e2, maybe getting ready to put more pressure on that pawn. And now queen to a5. Recommendation is that. But now they're saying I should just jump up and attack the bishop as well. So, at this point, they could castle queenside. I could do likewise. And then what? King to b8. Rook to h4. That's interesting. I mean, maybe you want to swing over towards the center with that rook or double the rooks up. Rook at h to g8, grabbing the half-open file. Knight to g3 is the recommendation. But now it's saying rook at d to h1. So go ahead and double up. Retreat and attack. So now we play the knight to protect the pawn. Bishop to c4. Queen to f2. And b5. Interesting. Almost like a pawn storm, even though he castled on that side. And then here they recommend moving the knight out of the way of this pawn. Bishop captures. Pawn captures towards the center. So we were a little more fortified in the center. Rook to c8 lining up on my king. So the game could have gone in that direction. So before I just go on and on, let me get back to what happened. h5 was played and they make this mistake here. So, this is a mistake and the game tilts pretty heavy in white's favor. What, plus 1.5 here. So now, now they're saying that was an inaccuracy. Interesting. h6 would have been better. Okay, I thought when I did the quick game review that it liked that move, but now they've changed their mind, the stockfish brains. All right, let's see here. They recommend h6 or d takes e5. So let's look at that move. So they're saying that is best, sending the bishop back in retreat. Then g4. Okay, getting ready to attack the knight perhaps. Bishop to e7. g5. Knight to h5. Capture. 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 Recapture. And then our queen would capture here. And then we would go ahead and material that way. So that's what the computer recommends. And then what? Knight to f8, bishop to d2, getting ready to castle. Then c6 keeps the knight away. But then, we castle long and line up on the queen. So, interesting. All right, so in the game, we capture here. We're still ahead by +1, but the computer says this is an inaccuracy. So they recapture, and that's best. Then we take, bishop takes, and then what? D takes e5 is the best move here. And another inaccuracy. So now it's saying knight to f3 would have been better. All right, so apparently I should have developed that knight. Then c6, bishop to c4. Bishop to c4. Interesting. Queen to e7. Oh, now it's saying knight to b6. So, why not attack? Retreat. And knight to g4. What does this accomplish? I guess it unleashes the bishop. So we should go d5, keeping that bishop locked up. Bishop to f6. Queen to e2. And takes. Then we just have a series of exchanges here. But first we can go there. Queen blocks. Then we capture. Then what? Queen to e7 to unblock the light squared bishop. And then how could the game progress? Well, maybe then queen to b5 with check, but then they could block with their bishop, I guess. Well, if they do that, we could pick off a pawn. So just develop and get ready to castle, it looks like. So if they attack, well, then we check. Queen blocks. And then the computer recommends we keep our queen by retreating here and guarding this bishop. So after that, we have castling, and computer recommends we keep our king in the center here by going there. No, now it's saying that's an inaccuracy, that the queen move would have been better. All right, well, let's finish this out. In the game, we pin their knight. They bring their bishop up, an inaccuracy. That didn't really do too much. I mean, other than prevent the bishop from going here maybe. But they can't castle anyway, so I don't know. This was probably a wasted move. c6 would have been better. So if they played that, then we should, what, capture in the center or develop our knight. They recommend capture, and then capture with the pawn. Queen up to d6. Queen to e7. And then we just capture and trade off. All right. Okay, so, the game could have gone in that direction, but it did not. So let's see what happened. Bishop to g5. This is what happened in the game. We pin the knight to the queen. They just move their bishop, kind of wasting a move. And then we capture. Computer says that's best. They recapture with the knight, which is a mistake. So better would have been to capture with the pawn. And then not f4, saying queen to d3, queen to e7, castle long. So if we castle long, now what? Knight to c5, attacking. All right, queen to e3, c6, keeping our knight out of their position. And then the bishop goes here, trying to get rid of this bishop, apparently. And the best thing to do is for them to keep it. So, I don't know. There it looks like white has the edge. But, nothing too crazy. So, in the game, we have this mistake. Now, that gives me the initiative. I'm able to chase the knight, which is best. Knight retreats to the best square, and then the queen develops, getting ready to castle. So that's also best. And it looks like it would have been better here to just jump up, retreat the knight and prevent this pin of this knight on the queen there. So castle is best, and queen to e7, the mistake here. Better would have been what? Queen to c8, creating a battery here. And then e5 or king to b1. So if we played e5, and why would they not just capture? They could capture, but apparently knight to h7, counterattacking my bishop, is even better. So yeah, that would have been the best move. Then I'm kind of retreating there. So what else is there? Knight to f3 maybe, just develop another piece. So the game would have been, white still would have an edge if the queen moved over here, but not as much as after this move. Queen to e7. Okay, so the king's still in the center. The queen is pinned, so we have to do something. Now, it looks like knight to d5 would have been an even better move. But I played, what, e5. So now it's saying that that is the best move. I guess we could take a quick look at this move. Knight to d5. And here, the recommendation is to take. But then why would we not just capture their queen? So if they did that, why wouldn't we just capture like that? All right, yeah, see, now it's saying that's best. So I don't know, that's strange that it didn't see that right away. We just grab a queen. So forget that move. What would be better? I was wondering about that move as well, but I don't know if that works. So yeah, see, that causes problems because now we can fork over here with a check, I guess. So, but I don't know, that gets complicated and crazy. All right, let's finish this out so the video doesn't run too long with all these different variations. So e5 was played, they captured, opening things up. But then we go ahead and capture, attacking their queen. Here the best thing to do is capture with the queen. But they capture with the bishop. And so this allows me to play knight to d5, which is, pretty much winning, I guess. It's plus, let's take a look at it. Now it's saying that's +4. So, they would have to retreat. Well, we'll look at that in a minute, but before we do, the one thing I wanted to check out is what if the queen captures instead? Oh, okay, they can't do that immediately. Well, they could. The computer's saying that's best, but then we just pick that off. And then what? The king has to move. Then we pick off a pawn. And now capture, knight develops, and rook to d8. Queen takes another pawn. Capture. Knight captures is recommended. Now our queen is backing up this attack, covering from the battery here. So king to g8 and bishop to c4, kind of lining up here. then what? Knight to e5? Really? I mean, we would just trade off more material if they did that. So capture, and then, yeah, then we capture here. So, yeah, anyway, it looks bad for black no matter what. So in the game, it went in this direction, and this is where they resigned, because what is best? It looks like the queen moves up, but if that happens, we can fork. Oh, excuse me, wrong move. That was what the computer recommends. But now we can capture. Queen captures. Knight captures the bishop. We just go up ahead in material with a check. So same kind of thing. We pick that off. E takes f4. Knight develops. Rook where to d8. So the same kind of stuff here. Now, what? Rook. Now, we're ahead by +2 here, but they recommend that move, which is interesting. Now what? Rook to e8. Okay. Bishop to c4, lining up here. Queen to e7. But now that allows us to pick this off. Queen to e3 check. We trade off queens. Knight up to g5, adding pressure. A fork. Capture. Capture. They have this passed pawn on the king side. We go after this pawn. Rook to g4 attacks. So the game could have played out this way. But we could grab the 7th rank. Now what? Rook to f4. Capture. Knight to a5, forking. We go with a check. King attacks our knight, and it's looking kind of crazy. But we have another check. King keeps coming after us. And now bishop to d5. Huh. Okay. Well, they recommend rook to f5. What if they did that? Well, now we do have a check. Oh, yeah, we check and then take the rook, so they can't do that. Discovered attack. Anyway, the game could have gone along these lines. All right, well, I will wrap this video up. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Feel free to leave any comments or suggestions that you would like. And I'm closing in on 1,000 subscribers. I think I need about 25 more, give or take. So I'm getting there. And thank you for watching. Have a super chess day.